Then out of nowhere, like a slap across the chops with a pita bread, Smithy leant forward, and I sensed an urgency in his voice. "There is something very important to bring up, Martin. Something very important indeed." His eyes went all serious and big, and his face reddened like a sore bell. "I am asking you for assistance. I need your help in a certain matter. In fact, a matter of great importance." "Go on," I said, intrigued as an intrigued sort of bloke being intrigued by something intriguing. "You know about the Mayor of Smoochyville?" Not really, no," I replied, wondering where all this was heading. "Well, he had some kind of an episode, to say the least. It was widely reported in the papers." Smithy looked around, as if to make sure the spirits that haunted him weren't listening in. "Last year, he was outed as a terrible, terrible drunk, and his wife sold all the gory details to the paper. She said he went wild after one single sip of sherry, sometimes a mere sniff of the stuff. Social events and gatherings at their home would become a most dramatic affair once the mayor had his drink, and the man had to be locked in the cupboard until the booze left his system. He was sent wild by the drink, and had an overwhelming desire to tweak the female guest's nipples whenever sloshed. His mayoral member would become utterly rock solid, an everlasting concrete appendage, and it would have to be beaten with a cosh of some sort to soften it down at the end of the night. His urge was unstoppable, and so conversations were had through the locked door until he was fit enough to come out. Questions regarding street parking and neighbourhood watch would be asked through the keyhole, but you had to be careful how close your tongue went to the hole when speaking, because the mayor could somehow grab it from inside, pull you closer to him, and try to cop off with you through the little hole. Recently, at one of their shindigs, the mayor had fooled a woman into opening the door and letting him out, convincing her somehow that he had calmed down and simply wanted a vol au vent from the buffet. As soon as she opened the door, that was it. When the doorknob squeaked and began to turn, the mayor's wife heard that all too familiar creaking of the door, and she held out her arm from the other side of the room, amidst the hobnobbing and dull waffle, screaming in horror, "No!" But it was too late, and the mayor burst out of the door like a savage, pointing at the woman who had freed him from the cage-cum-larder. He opened his mouth wide and made a noise that can best be described as a tormented squawk. Apparently feathers and chess pieces flew out of his mouth as he screeched, but this bit could be a slight exaggeration of a traumatised witness. The other diners and guests dived for cover, covering their nipples with the provided mini sausage rolls as they did so, hiding from him like helpless peasants from a merciless warlord crashing upon a village in an uncontrollable rage. Some wept into their drinks, hiding beneath the buffet and hugging each other for comfort. Then he ran at her, his face haunted and contorted, and for a moment he was literally flying through the air like, as one guest observed, some kind of pelican bloke. She was forced to flee the house, but the mayor was in hot pursuit, hollering like a lunatic behind her. He roughly tore down a curtain rail and jumped out of the front window like some enraged jousting knight, glass shattering all over his torso as he majestically leapt through the air. For a moment he roared like a wolf man, according to one witness, tearing bits of his own clothes off in sheer excitement. Eventually she escaped into a woodland area nearby, but the mayor wasn't giving up just yet. She observed him from behind the safety of a bush as he wandered about through the grass, groping and humping trees with desperation, panting wildly, muttering foul-mouthed gibberish under his breath and drooling thickly from his mad mouth. In the end, the police had to tranquilise him, and his title as respected town mayor was stripped from him instantly. But he fled the station, tearing his clothes off and throwing them aside. He kept his mayoral chain on, though, as some kind of statement about high society. People saw him heading for the woods, where he dwells to this day, making nobbings with creatures of the wild. Some have spotted him since, hiding in the bushes, or pissing down the slide in the nearby park and smearing walls with his own shit and then fleeing into the night. He's become the Sasquatch of Smoochyville, and they say he's grown hairier since living out in the trees, at one with nature, and as naked as the day was born. There's actually something strangely beautiful about his feral existence, but also something disturbing too. Housewives have nightmares of his furry testicles. Where do I come into all this, Smithy? I asked, curious now.